Have you ever had a great day ruined by a single comment? Maybe someone ignored your message, criticized your work, or made a snide remark, and suddenly your confidence, your happiness, your peace vanished. Why does this happen? Because we give people the keys to our emotions, allowing them to decide how we feel. But what if you could take that control back? What if no one, no boss, no stranger, no family member could shake your emotional foundation? Today we're going to talk about exactly how to do that. When you know who you are, what you stand for, and what truly matters to you, the opinions, judgments, and criticisms of others lose their grip on your emotions. Too often we let other people's words dictate how we feel because we lack a strong internal foundation. And when you don't have a clear sense of self, every comment, every criticism, and every rejection feels like an attack. But when you are deeply rooted in your purpose and values, external noise becomes just that, noise. Imagine a tree with shallow roots. A strong wind comes and it sways, bends, or even falls. Now think of a tree with deep roots. No matter how fierce the storm, it stands firm. That's what happens when you have clarity about yourself. Your why becomes your anchor, keeping you steady even when others try to shake you. The reason we let people control our emotions is that we are constantly seeking validation. We want approval. We want to be liked. And in that pursuit, we unknowingly hand over the power to dictate our emotions. If someone praises us, we feel on top of the world. If someone criticizes us, we crumble. But what if your worth wasn't tied to external feedback? What if you could hold on to your confidence regardless of what others say? The truth is, people's opinions of you are filtered through their own experiences, insecurities, and biases. A person's judgment of you has more to do with them than it does with you. If someone insults you, it's often a reflection of their own struggles, not a statement of your value. If someone overlooks you, it doesn't mean you are unworthy. It means they are focused on something else. When you understand this, you stop taking things so personally. The key is to define yourself before the world tries to do it for you. Ask yourself, what do I believe in? What are my values? What kind of person do I want to be? When you have these answers, the words of others hold less weight. If someone calls you incapable, but you know you are resilient and hardworking, their words don't shake you. If someone dismisses your dreams, but you know your purpose, their doubt doesn't become your reality. This doesn't mean you ignore all feedback. Growth comes from learning, and sometimes criticism can help us improve. But there's a difference between constructive feedback and baseless negativity. When you know your why, you can distinguish between the two. You take what helps you grow and discard what doesn't serve you. Think about the most confident people you know. They aren't immune to criticism, but they don't let it define them. That's because they have a strong sense of self. They aren't looking for approval to feel validated. They walk into a room knowing their worth, not waiting for someone else to affirm it. The next time someone's words try to pull you down, pause and ask yourself, do they truly know me? Do they define my worth? Do their words change my purpose? The answer is always no. You control your narrative. You decide how you feel. When you know your why, the world's opinions lose their control over you. There is a moment, a fraction of a second between something happening and how you choose to respond. That space is where your power lies. Most people react immediately, allowing emotions to take control before logic has a chance to step in. But those who master the power of the pause understand that true control comes from choosing how to respond instead of letting the moment dictate their reaction. Think about the times you've reacted in anger, frustration, or hurt, only to regret it later. Maybe you snapped at someone and wished you had held your tongue. Maybe you sent a text in frustration and later realized it wasn't worth it. Maybe someone's comment made you feel small, and instead of brushing it off, you let it ruin your entire day. These situations all have one thing in common. There was no pause. There was no space between what happened and how you reacted. The ability to pause is the difference between emotional intelligence and emotional chaos. When something triggers you, your brain's immediate response is emotional. It's wired for survival, and in many cases that means reacting quickly to defend yourself. But in today's world, most of the threats we face are not life-threatening. They are emotional triggers, misunderstandings, or challenges to our ego. Reacting instantly often does more harm than good. The pause gives you time to think, to assess, and to decide whether the situation deserves your energy. Pausing before reacting is not about suppressing emotions. It's about gaining control over them. A pause gives you time to ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Is my reaction going to solve anything? Am I responding to the situation or to my emotions? Most of the time, a moment of reflection will show you that the best response is either a calm one or none at all. Imagine a conversation where someone says something that offends you. If you react immediately, you might lash out, get defensive, or say something you don't mean. But if you pause, even for just a few seconds, you give yourself the ability to choose your response. Maybe you decide to ask for clarification instead of assuming the worst. Maybe you choose to let it go because you realize their words don't define you. Or maybe you choose to respond firmly but calmly, keeping your dignity intact. That pause is what keeps you in control instead of letting someone else dictate your emotions. Great leaders, successful communicators, and emotionally intelligent people all understand the value of the pause. They don't rush to respond. They don't let their emotions hijack their decision-making. They take a breath, they reflect, and then they act with intention. The pause is also powerful in personal relationships. Arguments escalate when both people react without thinking, but when one person pauses, takes a breath, steps away for a moment, or simply chooses silence, it diffuses the tension. It creates space for understanding instead of fueling the fire. Practicing the power of the pause takes time and awareness. The next time you feel triggered, try this. Take a deep breath, count to 3, and ask yourself whether reacting immediately serves you. If it does, respond with clarity. If it doesn't, walk away, think it through, and decide later. Mastering the pause doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means giving yourself the space to act with wisdom instead of impulse. In that small space between action and reaction, you reclaim your power. There is a fine line between detachment and disconnection, and understanding the difference is the key to emotional freedom. Many people think that in order to stop letting others control their emotions, they need to shut people out completely. They build walls, cut ties, or refuse to engage. But isolation is not the answer. The goal is not to stop caring. It's to stop carrying what isn't yours. Detachment doesn't mean you become cold or indifferent. It means you create a healthy emotional boundary where you can engage with others without being controlled by their moods, opinions, or actions. Disconnection, on the other hand, is avoidance. It's withdrawing completely, shutting down, and refusing to feel. While detachment is a sign of emotional intelligence, disconnection is often a sign of unresolved hurt. Think of it like an umbrella in the rain. Detachment is carrying the umbrella. You are still in the rain, aware of what's happening around you, but you don't let yourself get soaked. Disconnection, however, is refusing to step outside at all. It's avoiding situations, conversations, and people just to protect yourself. While that might feel safe, it also keeps you from experiencing life fully. One of the most important areas where detachment is necessary is in dealing with negativity from others. People will project their insecurities, frustrations, and fears onto you, often without even realizing it. If you're not careful, you might absorb those emotions as if they are your own. Someone else's bad mood can ruin your good day. Someone's harsh words can shake your confidence. But when you practice detachment, you recognize that their emotions belong to them, not to you. You can empathize without internalizing. You can listen without absorbing. Detaching also allows you to handle criticism and rejection more effectively. When you're emotionally attached to every opinion about you, a single piece of negative feedback can feel like an attack. But when you create space between yourself and others' words, you gain the ability to evaluate feedback objectively. You take what is useful and let go of what isn't. You don't allow someone else's perspective to define your worth. This mindset is especially crucial in personal relationships. Love and connection are essential, but emotional dependence can be dangerous. If your happiness depends entirely on how someone else treats you, you give them control over your emotional state. A healthy relationship allows room for individuality where both people can feel deeply connected without losing themselves in the process. Detachment also plays a major role in handling conflict. When someone is angry, defensive, or trying to provoke you, your natural reaction might be to match their energy. But when you detach, you realize you don't have to participate in every argument you're invited to. You can observe their emotions without becoming entangled in them. You can choose peace over reaction. The challenge with detachment is that it requires self-awareness. It's easy to confuse it with indifference, but true detachment is the ability to care without letting emotions control you. It's staying present, engaged, and compassionate without losing yourself in the process. To practice detachment, start by recognizing when you are absorbing emotions that don't belong to you. The next time someone is in a bad mood, ask yourself, am I taking this on, or am I allowing them to have their own experience? When you receive criticism, pause and ask, is this feedback helpful, or is it just someone else's projection? Learning to detach is a skill that will serve you in every area of life. It will help you maintain your peace in difficult conversations, stay confident in the face of criticism, and protect your energy from negativity. When you detach without disconnecting, you remain open to life's experiences without letting them control your emotions. That is true emotional freedom. Rejection and criticism are two of the most difficult experiences to face, yet they are also two of the most powerful teachers. Most people fear them because they associate them with failure, inadequacy, or a lack of worth. But what if rejection and criticism were personal? What if, instead of seeing them as a reflection of your shortcomings, you could see them as opportunities for growth? When you redefine rejection and criticism, you take away their power to control your emotion. Rejection feels personal because it creates an emotional wound, whether it's a job application that didn't get a response, a relationship that didn't work out, or an idea that was dismissed. Rejection can trigger feelings of not being good enough. But the truth is, rejection is rarely about you. It's about fit, it's about timing, it's about someone else's needs, perceptions, or circumstances. Just because one door closes doesn't mean another won't open. Consider successful people in any field, authors, entrepreneurs, artists, leaders. Every single one of them has faced rejection. The difference is that they didn't allow it to define them. Instead of taking it as a final verdict, they saw it as feedback, as redirection, as a necessary part of the journey. When you shift your perspective, rejection stops being an emotional wound and becomes a stepping stone to something better. The same applies to criticism. Most people take criticism as an attack, and when emotions get involved, it's easy to become defensive. But not all criticism is meant to tear you down. Some of it can help you improve, refine your skills, and become stronger. The key is to differentiate between constructive criticism and baseless negativity. Constructive criticism comes from people who want to see you grow. It offers insight, suggestions, and feedback that, when applied, can make you better. Destructive criticism, on the other hand, is rooted in negativity. It often comes from people who are projecting their own insecurities or trying to bring others down. The key is learning to filter what you hear, take what is helpful, and discard what isn't. Think of criticism like a mirror. If someone gives you feedback, instead of reacting emotionally, step back and ask yourself, is there truth in this? If there is, use it to improve. If there isn't, recognize that it's just one person's perspective and let it go. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Another way to redefine rejection and criticism is to stop seeking universal approval. No matter how talented, hardworking, or kind you are, there will always be someone who doesn't agree, doesn't like your work, or doesn't see your value. That's okay. You were never meant to be for everyone. The more you chase approval, the more power you give others over your emotions. Instead of worrying about pleasing everyone, focus on staying true to yourself and your path. One of the most freeing realizations in life is that rejection and criticism do not determine your worth. They are experiences, not definitions. The world's most successful people were rejected before they succeeded. The strongest individuals have faced criticism before they became great. The difference is that they didn't let those moments stop them. So the next time you face rejection, remind yourself that it's not the end, it's redirection. The next time you hear criticism, ask yourself if there's something valuable in it. And above all, remember that no one's opinion, rejection, or critique can define your potential unless you allow it to. When you redefine rejection and criticism, you take back your power. The voice inside your head is the most powerful influence on your emotions, your confidence, and your overall mindset. It speaks to you more than anyone else does, shaping how you see yourself and how you interpret the world around you. If your internal dialogue is negative, self-doubting, or overly critical, it won't matter how much praise, validation, or success you receive, you will always feel like you're not good enough. On the other hand, if you master your internal dialogue, you take back control of your emotions, your reactions, and your self-worth, most people don't realize how much their inner voice affects them. It's that quiet but persistent whisper that tells you whether you are capable, worthy, or deserving. It's the voice that either pushes you forward or holds you back. The problem is that for many people, this voice has been shaped by past experiences, societal expectations, or even negative influences from childhood. If you've ever caught yourself thinking, "I'm not smart enough, I always mess things up," or "I'll never be good enough," then you've experienced how destructive an unchecked inner voice can be. The good news is that you have the power to rewrite the script. You are not obligated to believe every thought that enters your mind. Thoughts are not facts, they are interpretations. And just as you can train your body to get stronger, you can train your mind to be more supportive, more empowering, and more resilient. The first step in mastering your internal dialogue is awareness. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself, especially in difficult moments. If you make a mistake, do you tell yourself you're a failure, or do you remind yourself that mistakes are part of learning? If someone criticizes you, do you immediately assume they're right, or do you evaluate whether their words hold any real value? Noticing your thoughts is the first step to changing them. The next step is to challenge negative self-talk. When you hear that inner voice saying, "You're not good enough," stop and ask yourself, is that really true? What evidence do you have that supports or contradicts that thought? More often than not, you'll realize that your mind is simply repeating old fears, not facts. Instead of accepting those thoughts as truth, replace them with a new, empowering narrative. I am capable. I am learning and improving every day. I have handled challenges before, and I can handle this too. Another important aspect of mastering your internal dialogue is shifting your perspective. Instead of seeing challenges as threats, see them as opportunities. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, focus on what could go right. Your thoughts shape your reality, so when you choose to frame things in a more constructive way, your emotions and actions will follow. Visualization is another powerful tool. If you constantly replay failures in your mind, you reinforce a negative belief system. But if you intentionally visualize success, seeing yourself handling challenges with confidence, speaking with certainty, or achieving your goals, you start to rewire your brain to expect positive outcomes. Your mind doesn't distinguish between real experiences and vividly imagined ones, so use that to your advantage. The final step is consistency. Just as you wouldn't go to the gym once and expect to be fit, you can't change your inner dialogue overnight. It takes practice. Every time you catch yourself speaking negatively, correct it. Over time, positive self-talk will become your default setting, and you will no longer be controlled by the opinions or judgments of others. When you master your internal dialogue, you gain the ultimate power, the power to choose how you feel, how you respond, and how you see yourself. And once you take control of that voice, no one else can control your emotions. Imagine walking into a room where the temperature is freezing. Instinctively, you shiver, wrap yourself in a coat, or search for a way to warm up. Now imagine walking into another room where it's uncomfortably hot. You start sweating, fanning yourself, or looking for an air conditioner. In both cases, you're reacting to the external environment rather than controlling it. This is how most people live emotionally. They allow the moods, opinions, and behaviors of others to dictate how they feel. If someone is rude, they feel angry. If someone is dismissive, they feel unworthy. If someone is in a bad mood, their own mood shifts to match. In short, they function like a thermometer, merely responding to the external emotional climate. But the real power lies in becoming a thermostat, someone who sets their own emotional temperature no matter what is happening around them. Owning your emotional thermostat means recognizing that your emotions are yours to control. It doesn't mean ignoring feelings or pretending negativity doesn't exist. Instead, it means deciding how you respond rather than letting your environment dictate your state of mind. Just as a thermostat maintains a set temperature regardless of the weather outside, you can choose to remain steady despite the emotional storms around you. One of the biggest reasons people lose control of their emotions is because they absorb the energy of those around them. If you're around negativity, stress, or anger, it's easy to take it on as your own. But just because someone else is having a bad day doesn't mean you have to. You are not responsible for carrying other people's emotions. When you realize this, you stop letting their moods dictate yours. The first step to owning your emotional thermostat is self-awareness. Notice how often your emotions shift based on external factors. Do you feel happy only when others treat you well? Do you become discouraged because someone else doubts you? Do you let a single comment ruin your entire day? Recognizing these patterns allows you to take back control. The next step is to pause before reacting. Most emotional reactions happen instantly. Someone offends you and you immediately feel hurt or angry. But in that brief moment between the trigger and your response, there is a choice. Instead of automatically reacting, take a deep breath and ask yourself, do I want to give this person the power to control my mood? Another key aspect of emotional control is setting boundaries. There will always be negative people, critics, and toxic influences. You can't eliminate them from the world, but you can decide how much access they have to you. If someone constantly drains your energy, limit your interactions with them. If a certain environment always leaves you feeling stressed, minimize your time there. Protecting your emotional space is essential to maintaining your inner balance. Reframing your perspective is also crucial. Instead of taking things personally, remind yourself that people's behavior is often a reflection of their own struggles, not a statement about you. When someone is rude, it usually has more to do with their stress, frustration, or personal issues than anything you've done. By understanding this, you detach from the need to react emotionally to every negative encounter. Lastly, practice resetting your emotional state. Just as a thermostat adjusts when the temperature shifts, you can recalibrate when external factors throw you off balance. Whether it's through deep breathing, stepping away, or reminding yourself of your core values, find what helps you regain control when emotions threaten to take over. When you own your emotional thermostat, you become unshakable. You no longer rely on others to keep you happy, nor do you allow negativity to pull you down. You set the temperature for your own life, ensuring that no matter what happens outside, you remain steady inside. That is true emotional freedom.